I'm really glad you're all here this morning. It's a beautiful day, although we have a little smoke in the air, as you know, from the fires up north. But I'm glad you're here, and I'm hoping that this will be useful to you. This is about orientation for all new party leaders, and it's a variety of people who will be joining us. We'll be going through this entire presentation first, and then I'll take a few of your questions at the end. So if you go ahead and if you have a question, you can type it into the chat box over on the right, and then we'll take the questions at the end and try to address them all at that time. So as you're thinking of things, you can go ahead and type your question over in the column on the right under chat, and that should help you. So let's get going now. First thing we're going to talk about is your role as an officer. And then I'm going to introduce you to the various staff members here at the DFL that you might be interacting with in your new role. Then how to connect with us in various ways and use the tools that we have for all party units. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about local leader outreach, in other words, how you build your team and how you strengthen that team to go forward in this coming election year. After that, we'll talk a little bit about finance for the treasurers and what you need to know about that. Communications, which is everyone's issue, of course. That's always a very big one when we talk to our party unit leaders. The voter file, VAN, this is our database of all of the voters in Minnesota that you'll be needing to access in order to do the voter outreach, which is so vital to our election efforts. And then finally, I'm going to give you some tips on how to turn your district from red to blue. Presuming that there are some on here who haven't actually elected any Democrats recently, and there may be others who are trying to fill a couple of slots with Democrats this coming year. I have experience as a party unit leader myself, and I will be talking about that as we go through the presentation. And I can tell you a little bit about my own experience of turning my district, suburban district in Eagan and Burnsville, from totally red to totally blue in 2 cycles. So it can be done, and we'll go through some of those ideas for all of you. So for the chair, as you know, your main issue is going to be leading meetings, and you should also be developing an annual plan and building your organization. So all the decisions that you make or the ideas that you have should be geared towards building your organization, making it stronger, making it bigger, making it more effective. The vice chair, of course, has very similar duties, and because the chair's job is so big, the vice chair is vitally important to making that a success. So your job is really, really vital so that you can step in at any point and support the chair, especially if chair is unavailable. And when I had a really effective vice chair in my district, his job was so effectively done because he did all of the talking and recruiting. He was a master recruiter, and wherever he went, he would talk to people about whether they were involved in politics or not. So this is really a major role for vice chair, and the vice chair can kind of keep their eyes and ears open and give the chair advice as well. The outreach officer, your job is to meet people where they gather. Once again, this is a recruiting job in a way, but more than trying to get people to come to your meetings, what you are going to be most effective doing is going to where they are, finding out who they are, what their issues are, what drives their motivation to get together and organize in their communities or in whatever activity they're engaged in. Rather than talk, your job is to listen and to be open to listening, and then if they're interested, advise them a little bit on how maybe involvement in the DFL could help them advance their issues or cause or build their community. That's how you get them in. The secretary, of course, there's a lot of record keeping involved in running a local party unit, and you'll be creating your own records, plus helping us with the data that we need here at the state DFL in order to keep all of the wheels turning. The treasurer's job, of course, is to keep the finances straight and do the regular reports that are required by the Campaign Finance Board. Actually, it seems a little daunting. I was a treasurer myself. I was one of those people, many of us are, where the treasurer resigned. Somebody had to do it. And so I stepped in and said, okay, I guess I can do it. It's not much harder than managing a checkbook. And if you've ever used any kind of checkbook software online, I think you'll find that the software from the Campaign Finance Board is pretty easy to use. The director, of course, there are usually about 11 directors and sometimes more in every unit, and these are the people who are your ground troops. They can really help you spread your effect across the district. They lead committee activities, and they fulfill the plans that you put together as an officer group. They are the ones who can make it all happen for you. When you're looking for volunteers, usually the directors are the first ones you turn to. Then there are the precinct officers. Not all districts are successful in recruiting people at the precinct level, and I'm fully aware of that. But this is really vital. If you can build your precinct officer group so that you have people literally in these small neighborhoods who know who all the Democrats are, your candidates will be exceedingly grateful, and it will start making the word, spreading the word really widely that there are in fact Democrats where you live, and a lot of people don't vote Democrat because they think they're surrounded by Republicans, and what's the point? I've heard this many times, and so it's very very important to try to see if you can recruit people at the precinct level. If you can't, sometimes your directors can adopt a precinct or two and help organize at that level. But mostly it's finding out who the Democrats are, making them feel welcome, inviting them to a picnic, and then ultimately, hopefully, making friends. And then those friends are people that you can draw on when it's time to do some door knocking or to pass out some literature or to provide some support to your local candidates who are campaigning in that district or in that precinct. So here are the people whose names you may or may not have heard of before. All of us are listed on the DFL.org website, and you'll be able to find their contact information, both email and phone numbers, if you need to reach any of them. But rather than put it here into this slide, I'll just go through each person. Corey Day is the executive director. He works very closely with Ken Martin, our chair, and he handles really all of the political side of things overwhelmingly, although he is involved in the organization and administrative affairs here at the state office. Again, Vicki Wright, that's me, Training and Party Affairs Director. I've been in this job for just a little over a year now. I was doing training for the DFL part-time since 2012, actually. I'm from Eagan and Burnsville, although recently moved to St. Paul. And I've known Ken Martin, who is our chair, for many years, and we put together the idea that we wanted to do a lot more training for everyone, and this is part of that program. So Claire Verbaten is new Deputy Training and Party Affairs Director. She's my right arm. Any of you who are getting information from us or requests from us for information from you, likely Claire is the person doing that. She was an intern here and is now full-time, as she is a recent college graduate, and very helpful to me. Libby Keefe is our controller. Her job is to do all the reporting. She's basically the treasurer, acts like the local unit treasurer, but for the whole state. And her job is primarily working with not so much our state campaign finance board as the Federal Election Commission. She knows a lot about the finance. She can answer some questions, although, like I say, her orientation is typically Federal Election Commission. So those are things that you don't really have to deal with, fortunately. Rachel Boyer, new communication director. Those of you who are involved in doing communication at the local level, letters of the editor and so on, Rachel is very interested in connecting with you because she has a whole program that she does for local communications. And if you haven't heard from her yet, I'm sure you will soon. Heidi Kraus-Kaplan is Operations Director. Right now she is dealing primarily with all the plans for the state convention as well as the national convention, our plans for our delegation out in Philadelphia. Any of the big activities that we're involved in, Heidi is in charge of. Barrett Gall is our Finance Director. He works on our basic fundraising as well as on our big fundraising events. The recent Humphrey Mondale dinner, for instance, is an example. Sarah Black is a data and targeting director, and working with her is Mike Crusenberry, voter file manager. They are teamed up during this election year to support all of the efforts working with the VAN, or voter file. Those are interchangeable names. And once again, that's our database of voter information in all of the precincts, units, and statewide here in Minnesota. Curtis Shellman is the call center manager. We have, maybe you are not aware, but we have a very lively call center operation here that operates all week long doing fundraising and outreach to supporters. Lindsay Jacobson is a new executive assistant to the chair. When you call the DFL, Lindsay is usually the person who's going to answer your call. She also supports a lot of the operations and activities of party affairs, and so you'll see her in a lot of the activities that we are engaged in. So, to connect with the DFL HQ, right here it says accept the Yahoo group invitation to join. All of you who are chairs and vice chairs, and then anyone who's a state central committee member may already be a member of the Yahoo group for that state central committee. We may be changing this to a Google group. Stay tuned. We are not too thrilled with Yahoo as a platform, and we may be making a switch when we pull together our group activities for the state central committee. And this is our primary way of reaching those members, because it sends out automatic emails to everyone with notices and so on of upcoming meetings and other things that you need to know. So when you get an invitation to join either, like I say, the Yahoo group, or if it ends up being a Google group, if that comes from us, please accept that invitation, because that allows us to reach you very easily with all the information you need. Also, please check your email inbox frequently for notices and other info. We use email a lot. As you know, it's just the fastest, easiest, and cheapest way to reach out to all the people in the state. And if you're not checking that, you might be missing something that you need to you need to know. We also will be sending you spreadsheets and other forms supplied by Party Affairs. And these are things, typically the reports from all of your conventions, from the caucuses. One thing we had to do last year was you had to have all of the party units report where they were going to hold their precinct caucuses. We send out a spreadsheet that you can fill out, just put in the names of the locations and the addresses. If you send that spreadsheet back to us, it makes our job so much easier. You can only imagine that we have 4,109 precincts in the state of Minnesota, 121 organizing units, and gathering all that data here is made a lot easier if you can use the forms that we send to you. Once again, pay attention to deadlines. A lot of our deadlines are mandated by the call, the Constitution, or even the Democratic National Committee. In this case, this year, a lot of our deadlines are being driven by the National Delegate Selection Plan. If we miss those deadlines and we are out of compliance, that can harm our delegation, that can harm our getting seated at the convention. All of those things are very, very important. These deadlines are not arbitrary. They are something we are required to meet. So please pay attention to those. And the one thing that I would say to everyone is, if you have questions about party rules or operations, anything you need to know, the first place to look is the DFL Constitution and bylaws and the official call for rules and procedures. The Constitution, those are our founding principles, as well as all of the guidelines for how we operate. It's the big overview. The official call is updated every 2 years and relates specifically to the 2-year cycle that we're engaged in. And it gives you all the information about what you have to do for, in this case, for this year, for caucuses, for your local unit conventions, for endorsing conventions, for the congressional district conventions, the state convention, and also for national delegate selection. Plus, in the back of that, it shows you all of the numbers that are related to how many state central committee members you have, how many delegates you get to the state convention, and it also provides an overview of rules for all meetings. And that, I would say, I would refer to you to that section right away. If you've never looked at it, take a look, because all of those basic rules will guide you in how to conduct your meetings and your activities in your unit. The rules for all meetings, I'm looking at it right now, start on page 23 in the official call. If you don't have a printed copy of this, you can let me know. I do have some more printed copies here. However, both of these documents are available online at dfl.org. So let's talk about some of the tools that are available to you as well. We have local unit websites. We have a shell built for every unit right now that connects directly to dfl.org. It's very easy to update it with your local news, photos, videos, any of the material that you want to present to your local area. And you can accept online donations, which makes it very easy for your treasurer. A lot of units struggle with how to accept credit cards. This way you can just say, if you go to our website, you can make your donation there. You can also hold meetings using Skype and GoToMeeting. This is great for a lot of our units that are widespread around the state. The basic setup takes only about 10 minutes. If you go to dfl.org and click on Toolkit, you can get started to get your website up to date. And if you have any questions about how to do this, Rachel Boyer, our Communication Director, is available to answer any of those questions. The most important thing about local website and having one, even if you only just have your meeting schedule posted there. In our connected age, a lot of people go to the web first. And if they don't find you there, they assume you don't exist. And if they don't know how to find you, they'll never connect with you, and they'll never maybe even vote, because they think, well, maybe the Republicans are the only party active in this area. So keep that in mind. Other tools available to you at the DFL headquarters, if you're in the metropolitan area and you want to use one of our meeting rooms, you can schedule that with Lindsay, who answers the phone. Like I say, she can set you up with a meeting room. You can also use our call center. If there is a special event that you want to promote, or if you want to do some voter identification, we can schedule time for you and your unit to come in and actually use our call center at no charge to reach out to voters. And it's a wonderful way to do that. We use an automatic dialer so that if someone answers, you get to talk. Otherwise, you don't have to get all of those you don't have to dial all of your own numbers and then discover that somebody didn't answer. Because you use the auto dialer, if someone doesn't answer, it just goes on to the next one. The video studio is also available. If one of your local candidates, for instance, would like to make a video, you can schedule that with Rachel Boyer, and that can be done here in our studio. We've got a green screen, and you can even project an image behind if you like. There's a lot of possibilities for you to create videos at no significant cost. And the DFL Express. We have, as you know, a mini bus that we can send out to your parades or other events to kind of create a little extra excitement and make your parade unit look a little bigger. And that's another thing. If you just call Lindsay at our front desk, she can let you know if that's available. Once again, the DFL Express is offered at no cost to local units. So here's what I would suggest to all of you who are new officers, especially new chairs and vice chairs. It's really important for all of your officers at all levels to feel welcome and recognized, even before you get started on doing anything, and even before you want to call your first central committee meeting. So please send them an email or a letter, or better yet, give them a phone call. Because if they know that you are interested in getting to know them and working with them, and that you appreciate that they have stepped up to this role, it's going to make a big difference. The most powerful thing and most powerful incentive in any organization is recognition. And recognition that you appreciate their help, even before you get started, like I say, or if you've been in place for a while, is really a vitally important step, and not just at the beginning, but throughout your relationship with all of your local leaders. It's the most important thing you can do. I would also recommend that you plan a special orientation event. This doesn't have to be anything big. It can be lunch at Pizza Ranch on a Saturday. It can be something casual. It can be meeting at the favorite watering hole for a happy hour one night, something like that. But get everybody together. Tell them it's just a getting to know you kind of event. You can pass out a little information about perhaps your meeting schedule or what you've got planned for the year. You can talk a little bit about what precinct officers do. People who are new, you can tell them a little bit about what their job is, but have fun. The most important thing, and you're going to hear me say this a lot, the most important thing for you to do is make friends with the people who have volunteered to do this work. When you make friends with other Democrats and enjoy being around them and sharing your stories and your opinions about what's going on in the political scene, ultimately it's much easier then to ask them for a little help when you need it. So make friends first and ask for help later. And don't assume that people are going to just show up at a meeting. Meetings are the most boring part of what we do. So try to think about other ways you can gather and get to know one another, not only at the beginning, but also throughout your relationship and then in this whole cycle. Central committee meetings and executive committee meetings that you have planned, you should schedule these in advance if at all possible. Create a sheet or a postcard that's got the dates and the locations for your meetings, and pass these out. Let people know that you're there and how to find you. And once again, like I say, even if this is the only thing you put on your website, this is the most important thing you can put on your website, is letting people know how to get to those meetings and when they're going to be held. And try to make it a regular schedule that people can rely on. If it's always going to be the third Thursday, that's easy for them to remember if you're having monthly meetings. And once again, socialize after the meetings. When your secretary is sending out the meeting notice to all strong Democrats, not just to your central committee, but anyone is welcome. Our meetings are open, so let everybody know that you are meeting and you are welcome, because included in that notice should be where you're going to meet afterwards for a hamburger or coffee or whatever your plans are. A lot of our units actually meet at a restaurant in a little meeting room, and so the socializing is sort of part of the meeting itself. I strongly recommend this. It's one of the things I noticed when I was a chair in old Senate District 38. A lot of people came just for the social hour afterwards. They didn't always come to the meeting, but that was good because we could still recruit them for all the work we needed to get done. So let's switch to finance, and before we do, I'm just going to take a drink of water here for a second. Okay. If you're a new treasurer or a new chair, it's very important that you go and get your bank account up to date. You have to make sure that you've got the right signatories on that account. And if neither of you has been in this role before, then you should bring the previous chair or treasurer with you so that they can vouch for the fact that now you're taking over. This is very important. Your bank account must be up to date. And make sure you've got the right name and number on your account. Some people are using the same account they used before we reorged or redistricted back in 2010, and they might even have old checks with old numbers on it. Don't use anything that's out of date. Even though it'll cost you just a little bit of money to get some new checks, perhaps, by all means, make sure that everything says the right thing. If you're a Senate district, or if you're a House district, or if you're a county unit, it should have the proper name on your bank account. Then your campaign finance board registration also needs to be updated. Your chair and treasurer must be up to date on that, or you will be out of compliance. One of the things that you need to know as a treasurer, and especially even as a chair and vice chair, you should really take all of the compliance training tutorials. They are online, they're video, and campaign finance also does hold some in-person training, although you'd have to come to St. Paul to their offices, I believe, for that purpose. So they've put all of their training online, so that makes it a little bit easier. But I want to stress that it shouldn't just be the treasurer who takes this training. Chair and vice chair, and actually all officers should know what is going on when it involves money. It's the number one way you can get in trouble, and you don't want to get in trouble. When you're out of compliance with the campaign finance board, your unit can get fined, and this is something, of course, that the Republicans are going to keep an eye on. You never want to be out of compliance or be fined for anything, because they make political hay out of that. Even though it costs you money, it also costs your reputation. And you need to be absolutely vigilant in protecting your reputation as a party unit. The Republicans generally, I will say, are a little shoddy in their campaign finance work. You will find that they are fined fairly regularly, and this information is public. They are out of compliance fairly regularly, and this is something that you can do better than they do, and this is an important thing. I can't stress it enough. The reporter software is a requirement, and actually it makes it very easy for a treasurer to do all of the recording of donations and expenses, as well as doing the reports that are required periodically throughout the year. So please don't delay. If you haven't looked at any of this information, you should go online to cfboard.state.mn.us. You can just Google campaign finance Minnesota, and this will pop up. The other thing is there is a really effective party unit handbook that you can download and print out. It's a PDF, and you'll be able to refer to that at will, and it answers virtually all of your questions. It's most important, once again, is look at the reporting requirements. There are certain times of the year when a report is due from your unit. Very important to not miss that deadline. And so that's the first thing you should be looking at, and then determine how that is, what all the tasks are that you have to do. It'll be great if your previous treasurer can train you a little bit, but I strongly encourage you to get your own training, get up to date, because some rules change, and the procedures change, and you want to stay up to date on all of that. And here's my number one caveat. No one should assume you know the rules. No one should assume that it's okay to do the same things that a nonprofit can do. For instance, you cannot have any kind of a raffle. It's gambling. Party units are not allowed to do anything that involves a game of chance, that involves an item of value. There are strict rules on how anything like that can be conducted, and you need to know. And here's the other thing. Because you can't possibly know all the rules, ask for guidance. You can always call the Campaign Finance Board. When I was a treasurer, I did this for every event I had to collect money or report. I would call in advance and say, is it okay if we do a wine raffle at our picnic? Because a lot of people will think that would be a great way to raise money. Well, ask that question before you get down the path and find out that actually you can't do a raffle. You can do things like silent auctions, but there's also a way you have to report the value of the items donated for a silent auction. There are a lot of intricacies involved. Don't be afraid to ask the Campaign Finance Board in advance. One of the things that I will tell you is if you ask for help And if you use their software and you still make mistakes, they won't penalize you because they know you're doing due diligence. They know you're a volunteer. They know you're trying hard to do it right. And even if you do it wrong, it's extremely unlikely that they will penalize you if you have a reputation for asking for advice in advance and being on top of things. So don't be afraid to tip your hand with them. You know, in other words, don't do anything that's shady or questionable. Call them first. And then if you make a mistake, they'll remember that you called. And you should keep record of that as well. It's very important. Okay, let's switch to communications. Our communications director has a program, as I said, where she works with people involving topics for letter writing and also trains you to do some media watching. In other words, what can you do in your area to keep an eye on the Republicans and what they're up to? And then report back here to the state office so that if there is something of note that would be newsworthy for our communications group to send out, we want to know that. We don't always have our finger on the pulse of what's happening in all the local units, but you can. You can let us know that something big is brewing, and the Republicans are up to no good, or whatever you want to report on. But it's really important to connect with Rachel Boyer and have people who are designated in your group who'd be interested in doing a little letter writing or doing a little media watching. It's kind of a fun thing, and it's not deadline driven usually, but it will really help increase your visibility, and also that helps your local units candidates as well. Meeting notices, as I said earlier, should always go out with an agenda so people know what to expect, especially if you're going to be holding elections or having special activities. The agenda is required so that people are aware with your meeting notice. Your meeting notice you can if you can get emails for everybody, you can use email for that, or you can do phone calling or send out a postcard, or like I say, if you send out the schedule in advance, then you just have to do a reminder later with an agenda. The event calendar, this is something that a lot of units take advantage of. If you have your own website that's connected to our website, as I was talking about earlier, your event calendar rolls up to your congressional district and also to a state DFL calendar automatically. So people who end up just keying in dfl.org can find your event, let's say your next Central Committee meeting, and where it's going to be located, and they'll find it. They don't even have to go to your website. So this is really a powerful little tool, and all you have to do is put the dates on your calendar, and all of those other calendars will be updated. And here's another piece of advice. Many units, sometimes a unit chair will use his or her address, home address, as the party address. I would dissuade you from doing that, because once your leadership changes, then you've got to change the address. Let's say you've got materials or information posted somewhere with that address, then you have to change all of it, so things would be out of date. Plus, there is a certain security issue involved. I think having your home address, anyone's home address, associated with the party activities is probably not the safest idea. You never know who might be looking for that information. So I would suggest to you that the easiest thing to do is to establish a post office box. They're very inexpensive. You can get a couple of keys to it. The chair and treasurer, for instance, might want to have a key each, so that they can each check it regularly if people have sent you money, for instance, or if there's information that you are waiting for from the Campaign Finance Board or anyone else. This is a really good way of making sure that it doesn't get lost in the mail. It's consolidated with all of the information that at the same time. So especially if you do a fundraiser where people are sending in checks, this is a great way to make sure that they don't get misplaced. And it's also a great way to easily transition. When your leadership changes, you just say, here's our post office box key. I'm going to give it to you now that you're the new chair. Here you go. Makes things real smooth. So let's talk a little bit about the voter file. This is something that some people get very confused about. I'm a little bit intimidated by, and I want to take away some of that. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that the lists that you have are your voters, your precinct attendees, your officers, everything that you have is very important that you guard. It's of value, and it's also a privacy issue. So those lists should never be just handed out to anyone who asks for them. And if you have questions about who you can give that information to, you can always call Mike or Sarah, as I talked about, Mike Crusenberry, Sarah Black, for guidance on that. There also is a policy for list usage posted online at dfl.org. It's a rather lengthy document, but if you want to refer to that, it should answer most of your questions. One of the things I want to emphasize at this point is that there should be a bright line drawn between your organizing unit and campaigns. Campaigns have different campaign finance laws than party units do, first of all. So anything of value that transitions between a campaign and the party is a donation to the campaign, and it has to be recorded as such. There are rules around that, and one of those things is a list. All campaigns for House or Senate can get access to the voter file for a small fee, and they should. They should be managing their own list. They have access that is different than it would be for your party unit, and they should not be expecting you to provide that information. That is, in fact, a donation to their campaign, and you should not be doing that. They should be contacting Sarah Black here and setting up their account. I think most campaigns do, but please be aware that this is very important. If you yourself want to then access the data, then access requests go to Sarah Black, and that has to come from the chair by email usually, and the names of the people you want to grant access to so that they can start pulling lists or looking up voters in your area, that you give her the name and their email address, and then she can give them an access code so that they have they can get onto the van. The beauty of this is you can do email blasts through the van very quickly, easily, that you don't have to maintain your own list that way. And there are other features as well that she can go into she goes into in the user training. User training is available also in webinar. They're scheduled regularly, and you should check dfl.org. It's surprisingly easy to use the voter file. There are a lot of sophisticated aspects to it if you really get into it, but for a party unit, mostly what you will probably be doing is doing some voter lookup, maybe even to find somebody's address if you need it to mail to them, or if you're looking to see who are Democrats, who are strong Democrats in a certain area that you want to door knock. You can pull lists to do that, and so on. Getting to know the voter file and using it is really, really important. This is something that was set up and really maximized during the 50-state strategy organized by Governor Howard Dean when he was the chair of the DNC. And this database here that we use here in Minnesota then feeds up to a national database, and it's an extremely powerful tool for Democrats all over the country, and you should get to know how to use it. So, voter outreach. This is something that people frequently put in the hands of your outreach director, and the outreach director shouldn't be the only person doing this, by the way. The outreach director should be the one who is organizing people to do this kind of work, and gathering people and saying, hey, why don't we go to this picnic over here at this other community and see if we can meet some Democrats, or if there's a city council meeting or a town board meeting, anything like that, festivals. Take a couple of Democrats with you and start meeting people. You don't have to be overt about the fact that you're trying to recruit them, but you can start recruiting them. Listen more. talk less, ask questions, tell them who you are, and that you're glad to be there, but find out who they are, what they're all about. Another aspect of this is identify the neighborhoods and residents of people who are new to the area, or members of underrepresented groups. It's not always easy to break into these kinds of, when I say break into, gain access to apartment buildings and things like that. But if there are ways to do that, if you can get a relationship with an apartment manager, for instance, say I'd like to just pass out flyers for our picnic that's coming up, would that be okay? That's another way of doing some outreach. And then see if you can actually do some door knocking in an apartment building, let's say, and invite them to do something, or maybe do voter registration. Underrepresented groups are really best reached if you can make friends and connections with one or two people who are part of those groups. They can start introducing you around. Once you've built a relationship with the first couple of people, then ask them if they won't introduce you to others in their community or in their group. Then they can help recruit their neighbors, and the whole thing can start building on itself. This is where the precinct organization is really key, because you need to be down at the neighborhood level in order to be effective at this. If you have a precinct chair who can plan an activity, like I say, if you just want to have lemonade and cookies on a Saturday at the park in your neighborhood, and you want to invite people, do that. That's a great way to just sort of get the ball rolling. Once again, make friends first. This is the most important part of voter outreach. And then you can talk to them a little bit about what you're doing as a DFL party unit, and you can ask them if they're registered to vote, and you can even tell them about how voting works in Minnesota. A lot of people who are new to this area have no idea that you can actually register at the polling place. But these are all the kinds of things that you can help to build your ground base and really help your local campaigns in identifying new voters. So there's more to come from the training department here. We are putting together an extensive officer's manual. It's a big job. We're trying to get everything up to date and relevant to what's going on in the current climate, both in here across Minnesota, and then also at the local level. So stay tuned. Those will be coming to the chairs and vice chairs, and we'll also make PDFs available for others to download and print out on their own. County fair kits are also going to be going out. We'll have posters this year for all of you who have county fairs in your area, and then and a couple of other items that will probably be included in those. I'm not exactly sure when they'll go out. It'll be fairly soon, I would say, if not before the state convention, right after. So the state convention is on June 4th. A lot of what we're doing is geared towards that, but we'll see what we can do to get our county fair kits out as soon as possible, because I know those things are all beginning right away as soon as school is out. We're going to also establish a Volunteer of the Year program. More information about this to come, and we'll be asking our party units to identify someone in their unit that they want to recognize, and every organizing unit will have an opportunity to nominate and vote on a Volunteer of the Year from their unit. And like I say, stay tuned, more information to come. We're going to continue to do training sessions at all the state central committee meetings. If you haven't, chairs and vice chairs, if you haven't gone to your state central committee meetings, I can't stress enough how important it is for you to do this, to really stay up on what's going on statewide. It's really helpful to you and to your unit, and really you should bring your whole delegation. I'll talk a little bit more about how you can build unit pride by attending these things and demonstrating that your unit has really got it going and got its act together. Training webinars also will continue from Party Affairs and the voter file. This is a good way for people to get the information we find, and it's a lot easier than traveling around the state and doing them in individual places, although we'll do that too. The DFL Training Summit is something we do in odd-numbered years. We've done it twice, so I fully expect we'll be planning one for 2017. So stay tuned on that. We've been holding them at the Humphrey School on the campus of the University of Minnesota here in Minneapolis, and I imagine that we'll probably do that again. It seems to be a really nice venue, and it's got Hubert's name on it, so we really like that part of it too. So stay tuned, more to come. Okay, so let's talk now about the possibility of turning red to blue. Let me tell you a little bit about my experience when I was Senate District Chair, when I was elected Senate District Chair in 2006. This was in Tim Pawlenty's district. He was my representative in the House in St. Paul before he became governor. The Republicans in our area were confident that there were no Democrats and that they never have to break a sweat. And they were right. The Democrats at that time were meeting in somebody's living room. I think it was about 4 or 5 people. They didn't have central committee meetings. They didn't do activities. They didn't march in the parade. They didn't do anything to make themselves visible at all, because I think they believed that there were no Democrats in our area either. The easiest way to turn that around is to start believing that there are Democrats. You just haven't met them yet. So in 2004 was a banner year. A lot of you will probably remember this. It was the beginning of George W. Bush's re-election campaign, and a lot of us were mad as heck and showed up at our caucuses. It was a big year for caucuses in 2004. A lot of new people came. I was one of those people, and I raised my hand and got involved, first as a communication director, and then ultimately, as I said, I was recruited to be treasurer, which was the greatest training. It was wonderful, because then the following year, when our chair resigned and there was an election, I was elevated to that position. And you know, any of you in this role, you know that that's kind of a mixed blessing. It feels sort of good, but at the same time, it's a little terrifying. So we were determined at that point in 2006 that we were going to have some victories. And the first thing we did was we got visible. We knew that we couldn't convince anyone that there were Democrats in our district unless they saw us. And it was the number one thing we heard at caucuses was, I had no idea there were any other Democrats who lived in Eagan or in Burnsville, right? I'm sure you've all heard this. So get visible. Sign up, be in the local parade. I'll talk a little bit more about visibility options. Get your website up. Start using Facebook and Twitter. One-person businesses that operate out of somebody's basement look big when they have a great website, they have a Facebook presence, and they're using Twitter. It makes it seem like, wow, they're really active. Well, it might only be one person, but you don't know that. So in your units where you've only got 4 or 5 people who are truly active, if you've got a happening website and Facebook presence, all of a sudden you're going to look a lot bigger than you are, and that's something you can point to, that you're active. Compete with other districts. Now, one of the things that people know about me is that I have a strong competitive streak, and when I talk about that, I'm talking in positive terms. I like to make sure that we're doing it the best possible way we can do it, that we're really setting an example for how parties should operate. I feel that I'm proud to be part of the state party organization here, because I think Ken has the same idea. Let's do it well. Let's do it better than everyone else. And we have gained a tremendous reputation nationwide for being an extremely effective state party, and I think it's because we take pride in everything we do, and we try to do it well and make it fun and make it effective. So we are, as a state party here at the DFL, competing with other state parties and doing it well, and as a result, we're getting a lot of benefit out of that. So when I say compete with other districts, I mean, you know, local units, other organizing units in your area, in your congressional district. See what they're doing, and think about a way you can do it a little differently. This is a way of just sort of getting a little excitement into all of your activities. Most importantly, outdo the Republicans at every step. One of the things you can do is schedule your meetings at the best possible venue. So maybe the place that they've been using, maybe you want to meet there and take over that spot, or maybe there's a better spot. Or maybe there's a high school where you want to have your caucuses. Well, make sure that you book that before they do. And make sure you're doing everything you can to demonstrate that you're willing to compete on every level. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. If you don't have if you're not graced with having all Democrats in all three of your legislative seats, House and Senate, be willing to change what you're doing now. Even if you are feeling sort of complacent, you won some elections and you feel like your incumbents are not going to be defeated, you shouldn't always be doing the same thing you've always done. There's always something you can do to change it, enhance it, make it more exciting, make it more interesting, get more people involved. Be willing to change everything you're doing now. Everything. Look at where you're meeting, the night you're meeting, the number of times you're meeting, the events that you're holding, the location of your picnic, how you're raising money, who you're talking to, how you're organizing all of your committees. Be willing to change everything. Get everybody talking about what can we do differently? Well, how can we energize and recommit? And here's another one. Bury the hatchet. When it comes to other DFLers, if you've got infighting, or if you've got those kinds of things where the old guard doesn't care much for what the new guard is suggesting, don't make it a battle. This should not be a battle. We are all DFLers. We all need to agree on what we're trying to achieve. And like I say, if you don't have all three of your seats firmly in the hands of Democrats, then there are things that you should change. And those who have been doing it a certain way need to understand that change is probably needed. And those who are suggesting it are not criticizing, but just looking for new and better ways to win elections. And so, getting personal and being resentful just undermines everything we're trying to do. I will tell you a little bit of story. And that is that when I took over as chair, I had my first executive committee meeting, and several of the people in that room were friends of mine. Others were new to me. And one of my friends was sitting directly next to me and made a disparaging remark about the previous chair, and who was part of an old guard who was kind of unhappy with the direction things were going. And I stopped him right there, and I said, no, we're not going to talk about other Democrats in that way ever. And if you continue to do that, I'm going to have to ask you to leave this meeting. And he was shocked because he was my friend. He thought he could get away with it. And when the other people in the room who were not so close to me saw this, they realized that something really good had happened, and that was that we were going to stop any kind of negativity, and no matter who you are, you're not going to get away with it. And it really helped us get off on the right foot. So that's what I'm talking about. No negativity. It's not necessary. It's not helpful. It doesn't build the party. So do your best to keep that in mind, and most of all, act like winners. So let's talk a little bit more about visibility. Hold events in public places where you will be seen. Don't have your picnic in somebody's backyard unless that backyard's on the road and it's visible from intersection in town, and you can put a big banner that says DFL Picnic, you're welcome, come join us. Don't do that. Make sure that not only that the Republicans can see you're having an event, but also that passersby can see you're having an event. One of my best friends first met me when she happened to stop by our picnic, and because she saw the banner on the picnic shelter on the main road in Eagan, and thought, oh, Democrats are having a picnic. I should stop in and see what's going on. She became our secretary and ultimately was extremely important to our district. You need to attract people's attention. Once again, get your website going, a Facebook page, Twitter handle. Use all these things to look bigger and more effective and more competitive. Buy a banner for parades and events. If you don't have a banner to hang on the picnic shelter or carry in the local parade, get one. This is one of the best investments you can make. It should say DFL in big words, and it should have your organizing unit name on there. You can say, you know, Kanabec County DFLers, you know, and have a kicking donkey, whatever. Make it look fun, make it obvious, and even if only 4 people are carrying this banner in your parade, you're going to look bigger than if you're not marching in that parade. Door knock. Invite people to fun activities. It doesn't always have to be about asking them who they're going to vote for. Meet people and demonstrate that you're fun. Much more than you're just about politics. In this climate especially, where the Republicans are going to be pretty embarrassed to be Republicans, and the independents who don't know what they're going to do, make it clear that you're not pushing politics on them, you're just trying to connect. Great way to do that is to invite them to do things with you and just have a little fun. Welcome people. When they do come, make friends. And here again, up your lawn sign game. There's a lot of people who think that lawn signs don't matter and they don't win elections and all of that stuff. That's true. They don't win elections. What they do is they win the battle against the Republicans who have lawn signs. So if lawn signs are a big thing in your area and the Republicans are doing it better than you are, it's time to really invest in this game, and make sure that your candidates are investing some in lawn signs, and that you have worked hard to find out if the people on certain corners or on certain roads are willing to put a sign in their property. That's your job, is to find out where those signs can be placed, and then you can let your candidates know, hey, the Johnsons down on that corner will take one of your lawn signs. I talked to them this morning. This is a big thing, especially if the Republicans are doing it better than you are. And once again, this is just to convince people in your area who don't realize there are other Democrats, that you are an active party. You can just be 3 or 4 people, and suddenly when you populate the whole neighborhood with signs, it's going to look like your party unit is very effective, and there's a chance you're going to win this next election. So up your game. Compete on everything. This is my mantra. If a neighboring district does something well, find out what that is and do it a little better. Take pride in that. And tell your people that you really like the booth that they have over in the county next to you, but what can we do to make our booth at our county fair look a little better than that, or a little more exciting? Make sure you have a full delegation at your congressional district meetings and at the state central committee meetings. Now, this sounds, who wants to go to a meeting, right? But the point of it is, it'll demonstrate to other districts that you're serious about this. And it'll demonstrate to the people in your district that you're serious about it, and the candidates that you're trying to recruit will understand that you're trying to build a strong infrastructure that they can lean on, and that you are willing to help them win if you've recruited them to run in your district. So when you can put a car full of people at a state central committee meeting, and you're driving 2 hours to get there and 2 hours to get back, believe me, you're going to get to know those people well. You can talk a lot about politics. You can talk a lot about your unit and what your plans are for your next event. You can get a lot of work done and have fun doing it. It's a very important thing, and it's interesting how this helps morale. Oddly enough, it really worked in my district. We had never gone to any of these meetings before I became chair. And once we started going to these meetings and making sure that we had a full delegation and that we were willing to carpool and all of that, the morale was raised and people connected and stayed connected much more effectively. Once again, bring a large contingent to all DFL events. I started a campaign in my district. It's now Senate District 51. They are still the one Senate district that has the most tables at every Humphrey Mondale dinner. And they were able to recruit a couple of people who were willing to buy a couple of extra tickets for people who couldn't afford to come. They use it as a banner of success. I mean, they take great pride in the fact that they can get 4 or 5 tables of people at that event. This is it makes a difference in how effective they feel and how effective they are. Have your precincts compete on fundraising, attendance, volunteer hours, anything. Give them a trophy. Have a little trophy that's got a stuffed donkey on it, and or maybe the trophy is the donkey, and every precinct have your treasurer report if they're making donations. Each precinct chair can have a chance to have the donkey for their own for a month or two if they're doing a bang-up job on raising money. It's kind of fun. Think about how you can use that sort of internal competition to sort of get things going. Get creative. Ask for other ideas. You have to have a lot of excitement. It can't just be people sitting around at a table talking about how you don't have any money and how can we possibly do X, Y, and Z. You have to think outside that box in order to turn from red to blue. So here's my favorite part. Outdo the Republicans. Have a bigger booth on the 4th of July. We discovered at the Egan Fun Fest that the Republicans didn't even have a booth. So we borrowed a 20-foot booth, not just 10 by 10, but 10 by 20, filled it with tables, lawn signs, 4th of July banners, bling, flags. We covered the thing with flags because we wanted to show how patriotic we were. This is in 2006. We had it staffed with people all weekend long. When the bands were playing, we're in our booth, we're dancing. We were passing out invitations to our picnic that was coming up a few weeks later, getting to know people. Once again, visibility, and we had a lot of fun doing it. Recruit marchers for your parade. Get the DFL Express to come to your parade. Or build a parade float that's bigger and better than what the Republicans have. This is important. Reserve the best locations for caucuses and conventions before they do. Find out when the school district will take applications for the coming year. If you know you're going to need space for your off-year convention, apply for it in June or July this year. So to make sure that you get the best location and get on top of that, because you don't want to be behind them. You want to make sure that you are demonstrating that you are serious about this. And plus it's fun. You can report at your next meeting, hey, guess what? We got the high school auditorium this time for our convention and they didn't. It's something that you can be proud of. Once again, lawn signs, more, bigger, earlier, brighter, whatever, up your visibility. Whatever the Republicans are doing, do more of it, do it better. Community activities. This is another thing. Not everybody's interested in doing politics 24/7. Some of us are, but not all of us, not everybody is like us, right? So your community activities are something that you can engage in. Adopt a street is a really effective one if you live in a suburban or urban area, because you can adopt a street that you pick up trash every other month or something, and the city will put a sign up that says compliments of the county Democrats, the DFLers. Once again, visibility. Plus, it's a way of getting people involved, doing something other than sitting in a meeting room. Those people who come to help you pick up trash, you go out for breakfast afterwards, and enjoy each other's company and plan the next event. Door knock areas or neighborhoods that Republicans avoid. This is huge. You certainly can guess what those areas are, and start recruiting your Democrats in those areas, because Republicans are assuming that there aren't any Republicans there, so then you can be pretty sure that there are some Democrats. Watch their campaign finance board reports. Use that information to get more donations from your DFLers. So if you know that they raised $1,000 last month or $5,000 last month, that should put the fire under the people that you know who are DFLers, saying, we can't let them do that. We have got to start raising money so our candidates have what they need, and we have what we need to do our job. Let's try to beat them on their next report. Let's try to raise more money this quarter than they do. Anything you can do to sort of create some excitement and feel like you're winning. These are the kinds of wins that get you to start believing that you can actually win elections. So if you can't win the election, at least you can point to all these other things that you've done where you've beaten them and you've outdone the Republicans. And those are stories you can tell when you ask people to help you or to give you money or to support you or to run for office. Because you can say, okay, this is what we did better in the last cycle. This is how we beat the Republicans at their game in the last cycle, and we'll do the same for you if you will agree to run for House in this next time around. These are stories you can tell, and you'll find that you'll have an easier time of recruiting people to run for office and making them feel more confident that they might be able to win. So once again, if you're not winning yet, you need to look at everything. You need to stir the pot, shake off the dust, clean everything out of the closet, and start over. Find a new meeting place, maybe a new meeting schedule. Once again, go out for refreshments after meetings. Promote this in your notices and agenda. Have volunteer parties. Start a precinct chair mentorship program. Start teaching them what their job is. And their job is primarily to get to know their neighbors who are Democrats and keeping track of who those people are. That's their job. They don't really have to do anything else. If they can do that, you are doing great. Redo the look of all your documents, banners, website. Have a high school art student design a new logo. Whatever, just refresh everything. Establish some new recurring events. If you always have a picnic, then add something in the fall that you do that's a little different than that. Maybe it's a wine tasting, or it's beer and brats, or who knows? Find a new event. Stop what you're doing. If what you've always, stop doing what you've always done unless it is fantastically successful. Make sure that there's always something you can do a little differently. For instance, we have the Humphrey Mondale dinner every year. Well, we don't have it in the same venue all the time. We don't have the same menu every time. We have a different program sometimes. We try to mix it up a little bit to keep the interest level high. This is important. Like I say, unless it's fantastically successful, you should be looking at how you can change it. This shouldn't be a threat to anyone. You can just always put it in terms of, we're not winning elections yet, or we lost that House district. What do we need to do differently this time? And get people's attention that way, so they don't take it personally that you're changing something that they think is a good idea. You can just say, well, let's revisit all of this, because obviously we're not perfect, and we can do a lot of things differently or better. So here again, and the negativity, just as I was referring to, you don't want people to feel that the change that you're promoting is in any way a personal criticism. And you don't want personal criticism, bickering, infighting, anything like that. If anyone is starting that in a meeting or an event, confront them about it in a nice way. Say, wait a minute, no, this is not who we are. This doesn't get us anywhere. This doesn't help us. Please, let's stop talking in those terms. Do everything you can to bring people together, or at least if not bringing them together, at least make sure that they feel safe, that they're not going to be attacked. That's very important. Um, invite the chronic complainers to take it elsewhere. I mean, that's, it would be just like in high school. It's like, if you can't be civil and behave, I'm going to send you to the principal's office. Well, you can tell somebody that, really, I don't need you in this meeting if that's all you're going to be saying. And others will back you because they'll be darn happy that you said that. Be amazingly friendly and unafraid when approaching Republicans. They can't handle it. They don't know how to deal with that. They expect you to fight with them. Don't fight with them. Laugh, smile. I learned this early on, and I use this technique at the State Fair booth, which I also manage. You can imagine how many Republicans come by and say insulting things, trying to get us to argue with them. Smiling at them and saying, oh, hey, it's the 4th of July. It's a really great day. We're all Americans here. We're all patriots. I don't think we need to fight about anything, and just be grinning at them. And they have no answer for that. It's fun. It's fun to do that. And don't fight with Republicans. Don't get into it with them. There's no point. There's absolutely no point. You should show that you are above it and you're better than that. It's very important, especially in this very, very hot political environment right now. Do not blame other DFLers for anything that is occurring in your district. Take control of your own fate. We're going to make mistakes here at the state DFL. We're going to do something that you don't like, or you don't understand, or seems annoying, or the congressional district is asking questions that you don't want to be bothered with, or there are things going on. Right. I fully admit that some of the job can be annoying. Some of the things you have to do are not that much fun. Some things may seem like they're counterproductive, but more importantly, we're all in this together, and people are volunteers, and the fact that they're willing to give any of their time, effort, and energy to this is a very valuable thing, and we need to honor that. So even if things aren't going exactly the way you like, then try to do what you're doing as best you can. It's not about placing blame. It's about fixing everything that we're doing so that we do it better. And don't get into a blame game or criticism. It doesn't help you in any way. It only hurts. And most importantly, it's no fun. So always act like winners. Always fill your candidate slots no matter what. I was about to put my 85-year-old mother into a House district campaign because I was having so much trouble recruiting someone. I figured, okay, I'll just put her name, Marilyn, on a purple sign. We'll print just enough signs to make the Republicans, wonder who the heck she is, and we'll put the lawn signs out, and we'll raise just enough money so that she can meet her obligations. And because we didn't want the House member, who was really a nasty dude, we didn't want him to have an easy time of it. And we figured he probably wouldn't say anything insulting to an 85-year-old lady. So I came really close to doing that, and then ultimately found a former city council member who was willing to run in that district. And not only did she win, but she is still an incumbent after, I think, let's see, that was in 2006. So she's still the incumbent House member out in Egan. And so always fill your candidate slots. Don't let the Republicans off the hook easy. Don't have them be unopposed. That's an ugly concept. So find somebody who's willing to do it and back them as best that you possibly can. Strive to be the best organizing unit in your congressional district. Act like a winner. And here, importantly, for all of you officers, do the ask for donations at every event. People need to be reminded that we don't get money from anybody, any other source. It's only from the grassroots. The people in your area have to support what you're doing, and even if you just ask them for loose change in their pocket at each of your meetings, that's a plus. So please do the ask, and do it in a nice way, and also tell them the stories about, well, the Republicans in this district raised $5,000 last quarter, so what are we going to do to change that? Can you write us a check tonight? Recommend that they do this. Everyone do this in a nice way at every event. Recruit new people everywhere you go. Go to forums, listening sessions, any Republican event you can get into. Find out what they're up to. That will make them nervous. Be relentlessly enthusiastic, fair, and professional. Build a foundation for success, because this is what you're doing. You have a long game that you're playing. You're trying to build something that will last. This is Ken's mantra: build to win, build to last. The idea is that the party unit you're building today should be stronger and better 4 or 5 years from now. This is the goal, because candidates come and go, as you know, but the party goes on. And so even though we put all of our energy every 2 years into House races and every 4 years into Senate races, and then now we've got the president and all of these things going on, but what we're really building here is the party. And so that ultimately any candidate who comes along will feel well served and well supported. That's our goal. So I'm going to turn that off and exit the show. And so let's try to take some questions if there are any. So far I don't see any on the content. All right. Well, I'm going to assume that you got all the information that you need for one Saturday morning. This video is going to be recorded, and as I said, it's being recorded, and we'll post it ultimately on YouTube, and we'll send out the link to that. So all the people who were unable to join us today will be able to view it at their leisure, and you can go back and listen to it and watch it at any time yourself. So thank you very much for joining. I'm really glad you did.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, this is Lon Ingber. I do have some questions, a couple questions. I didn't have any place on mine that said I could type some questions in.
Okay.
But I'm the new treasurer of CD7.
Uh-huh.
I'm an experienced treasurer because I've been Becker County and also Senate District 2. I am wondering, I have some treasurer questions. I'm wondering if I need to be bonded.
No.
Okay, because...
But you do have to be registered with the Campaign Finance Board.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, because I'm replacing Lil, and she's kind of saying I need to be bonded.
Well, all you have to do is verify that with Campaign Finance Board. But no, I don't believe that is required as separate.
Okay, I also have a question. We presently we have 2 accounts in CD7, a federal and a local, a state account.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to consolidate those. I don't know.
Okay, that's a very dicey thing, and what I will tell you is the person you should start with probably is Libby Keefe, our controller. It can be done, but there are a lot of things involved in that, and so check with Libby. She is in the office on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, but you can always send her an email and put your question in that. But she can really get you started in the right direction on that. That's like, I'm glad you asked, because it's not easy to do.
Also, do you have much knowledge with campaign finance and their software?
I haven't used it in recent years, but there is full training videos on their website, and how you can tap into all of that. So yeah, I can't tell you what it's like now. When I worked with it, it was a pretty basic system. There was nothing particularly sophisticated about it, but what's really great about it is it walks you through all of the processes, and if you leave something out, it'll ask you a question did you mean to do that, or did you forget to do this? And that's really helpful.
And I could take right to campaign finance. I was curious if they update their manuals when they update, when you do an update all the time, it gives you the new software.
Well, their manuals tend to be about compliance, so the rules. Whereas the software training is, I think they update their training if they change the software, and that would be a video training or a webinar, is in my understanding.
And to any other treasurers out there, if you do call campaign finance, they will find somebody that will walk you through anything and help you with any questions. And if you're close to deadlines, if you work with their office a lot, there's a lot of leniency with the fines, just in case.
Okay.
I guess that's about all
all right, great. I have a few questions here that I'm going to answer. I'll read them off here. Let's see, I'm going to make sure I've got all of them. Okay, here's the first question, and that is, I'm interested in doing orientation for precinct chairs. What else do I need to know? There are a couple of things. Precinct chairs can have access to the voter file if you want to grant it to them for their precinct. So they can look at who are Democrats in their area that we already have identified. Or they can also see who lives in their area, who's a registered voter, perhaps who we don't know if they're Democrat or Republican. So that's one of the things they can do. Most importantly, they need to know that they should come to your meetings, and you should have regular central committee meetings. And so when you orient your precinct chairs, don't overwhelm them with tasks. Explain to them that their job is to identify and meet and make relationships with the Democrats in their precinct. That's their core job. That's the number one thing. However they want to do that, however they want to accomplish that is fine, but that's what they're supposed to do. They can help you find out, they can ask the question, would you be willing to have a lawn sign in your yard? They can you can talk to them about, are they willing to help if you're going to do any activities in your area. It's really about building relationships at the precinct level. If you have any more questions about that, I will have more information in the manual that we will be sending out that will give you a few more ideas on precinct chairs. Otherwise, you can give me a call and we can talk about your specific questions on that. There will be some more training coming up. There's a question, is there opportunity for more of that? Yes, as I said, we do training at all the state central committee meetings and on different topics. And so when we send out the notices, that training information goes out with it. So here's another question. Who do I talk to at state office for more training, coaching, resources, and outreach? Outreach, I can talk to you a little bit about that, but I would also direct you to the outreach officer, Shivanti Sathanandan. Her contact information is on dfl.org. Shivanti is the chair of the Outreach and Inclusion Committee, and so you can probably really get some good information from her and some ideas of what might be happening near your area as well. Are there any other questions? Looks like a lot of people have other things to do on their Saturday. They're starting to ring off, so I think we'll close the training at this point. I really appreciate your participation, and please let people know who are unable to join us that this will be online, and I really am glad that you've stepped up, and I hope you have a great year. See you at the next State Central Committee meeting and at everything that's coming up in this year. Thanks, everybody.